Welcome back to Yarnyheart Fiber Art, where I tell you all about what I've been knitting, what I've been crocheting, and what I've been making. Now, fall is almost here, or might be here by the time I upload this video, which means that we're kind of in a transition period. Usually I start getting more into knitting in the fall. I'm not really sure why, but I just don't usually like knitting with plant fibers, and spring and summer are for plant fibers, and that's usually when I'm picking up my crochet hook and doing a lot more crocheting. But now that fall is coming, I'm getting really into fall knits, and I'm excited to show you what I've been working on. So first off, I have 3 finished objects and I think 2 whips to share with you, and then a new acquisition, a new yarn acquisition that I'd like to share with you as well. I will say also, I'm going to try and edit these videos less. Obviously, if I decide while I'm editing that I want to edit it more, you won't be seeing this, but I'm just gonna say right off the bat, I think I'd like this space to be kind of a little more casual, a little more unedited, uncut, so to speak. So with that being said, let's jump right in. The first item is something that I showed you all last time, and these are my finished Veela mitts now. They're really nice. So once again, this was made with Berroco alpaca worsted alpaca. It's the alpaca that's worsted. And I made these beautiful little mitts. And these are the Veela mitts that I mentioned last time. So now it's a finished pair, and these are going to be a Christmas gift, so I will not be hanging on to them, but they're very soft. The colorway is really beautiful. It's kind of like this eggplanty with a lot of red and blue fibers in it. Ooh, there we go. There you can see the texture. And the texture is just this really beautiful knot stitch with some simple cable twist. Yeah, very pretty. And this is the first purple project. Actually, technically, this is the first purple project what I'm wearing right now. This is the Chihiro Cardi by Stitches and Burn that I also showcased in the last episode, but now it's been blocked, the ends have been weaved in, and I've worn it a couple times. But I never get the chance to take pictures of it. I take that back. I have a chance to take pictures of it, but I don't know. It's a lot of work to get out my tripod and take pictures of my finished makes, but I'll maybe get around to it at some point. But yeah, so this is another purple project that I made, and I'll get kind of more into that story a little bit later. The next finished object that I have is the Velouette top. This is by mon.amour.mona on Instagram. And this was a pattern test that I shared the very beginning of on the last episode. I just had pretty much like the double crochet foundation chain done, and that was about it. So here's the finished product. And I did make this with the leftovers of the KnitPicks Upcycle alpaca that I used for my moonlight skirt. And this is made with the leftovers of that, so it is the exact same color. And it's really funny, I can never get this yarn to show up correctly on any camera, but it's a very beautiful brown with a lot of undertones of like pink. It's a very like pinky kind of purpley kind of brown. It's very beautiful, and I've been getting a lot of wear out of this top already. I think I've worn it like 4 times at this point out for like different occasions, and it's a really wonderful top. It's super bra friendly. Like, these straps are nice and wide, and they're shaped really well to hide a bra strap, and I'm honestly in love with this pattern to the point that I think I would make another one if I had the opportunity and the yarn and the time. But it's a really great transitional piece the way that I knit it, because, or crocheted it, pardon. The way that I crocheted it, because it is in that alpaca fiber, that alpaca wool blend. And so even though it is a tank top, it is still quite warm, which is making it a perfect layering piece as the weather is starting to slowly get cooler. As you can see also, for some reason, my tension on the front and back panels was just like totally not the same, and I'm really not sure what happened to make it so different, but it kind of works out because a lot of the time I actually need like a larger front panel, just to kind of accommodate for like the bust circumference. And so it ended up working out in the end, and I wear it a ton, and it's really pretty. So that's that. The Velouette top by mon.amour.mona. I feel like I'm talking like really fast. Am I talking really fast? Okay, so actually, let me tell the story beforehand before I show you the finished object. But I wasn't finished yet. I was finishing up my pattern test for the Velouette top, and then I got added to an Instagram message group to test for the Clara cardigan by RAPH. And to be completely honest, I 100% just forgot that I signed up for that pattern test. Like, I completely forgot that I applied, because I think part of it is that there were so many applicants that I just kind of thought to myself, you know, there's probably like a very low chance of me getting into this pattern test. So I'll just try my luck and see what happens. And then I just like completely forgot that I signed up for it at all. And so when I got put onto the tester group, I thought to myself, like, oh God, like, do I have the time to do this? I don't even have yarn to do this right now, because I don't really have anything in my stash that's like sweater quantity and is like a long sleeve cardigan. And I wrestled with that for a little bit, but then I thought to myself, okay, I'm almost done with this test crochet, not test knit, test crochet. So, you know, the deadline is like a month from now. I probably have the time. I just need to buy yarn really quickly. Like, I really need to make a decision, buy the yarn, and get started on it. And so I did. And so I went on Amazon looking for yarn, because that's probably the fastest place you can get it aside from going to a local yarn store. And I kind of didn't want to pay the local yarn store in price for it at this point. And so I turned to Amazon, and I had seen this brand around and different people on Instagram using it, but it's called SHIKE, and I had always been curious to try their yarn because it seemed like they were using quality materials in their yarn, at least just from the ball band, what they claim is in it. But it was also very cheap, and it was on Amazon. And so I came across this one SHIKE yarn called Star River, and they had some beautiful colorways, and like, honestly, I think I would purchase this yarn again. It was a real pleasure to work with. I loved working with this yarn, and I would totally do it again in a heartbeat. So it claims to be 100% cotton, but that can't possibly be true because it's also sparkly. It's held with a strand of something sparkly, which is not made of cotton. So the ball band already off the bat is incorrect. But I'm willing to believe that aside from the one strand that it's held with, that the rest of it is 100% cotton. And it's a sport weight. The cotton is very soft. It doesn't shed. It doesn't, like, I'm wearing Fabletics yoga pants right now, and they're covered in cotton fuzz because of something else that I've been working on. But this SHIKE Star River does not shed one bit. It did not shed for the entire process of me working on this cardigan. But all that to say, I was looking through their colors. I was finding a lot of things that I was drawn to. A lot of colors that were very pretty and speaking to me. And then there was this one color that was kind of like this plum, like this deep plum color. And I was like, ooh, that would be really pretty. I'm gonna get that one. And then I bought it. I waited 2 days for Amazon Prime, and then I received it, and I opened the package. I was super excited. I pulled out the yarn. I was playing with it. I was like, wow, it's really pretty. Like, it's so pretty. And the thing about the sparkle is it's very subtle. Like you can only really see it if it catches the light a certain way, and sparkles like that, and it's very subtle. I love how subtle that sparkle is. And I was just in love with it. And then I put the package of yarn on my couch next to my almost finished Velouette top, which, might I remind you, also matches my moonlight skirt because it's the same yarn. And I put them next to each other and I went, oh no. It's basically the same color. And it's like, granted, this is definitely with the purple tone and this is more of like a pink brown tone, but like even on camera, they're so similar. Like they're very similar. And I had a moment of like, should I return this yarn and get a different color, or just dash it and get a different color? But I kind of didn't have time to do that, and I did really like the color, and so I just kind of ended up making my peace with it, and I finished the cardigan, and it's very beautiful. I'm really proud of it. I've already worn this one a lot also, even though I only finished it about a week ago, and I've already worn it twice or 3 times out, and I can tell already that it's going to be kind of a fall staple for me. It's very gorgeous. So here is the cardigan. It's really pretty. It has a lot of lace flower details. It has this kind of like flare sleeve that looks very like 70s-ish, and then it's finished with a tie around the flare sleeve that you can kind of cinch it to make it more exaggerated like that. And then the original pattern does have 2 ties on the front. I elected to do just the one because I like the look of it. However, one thing that I found, which I also left as feedback on the test, but it's not at all Ara's fault in any way because her pattern is actually written to have the 2 ties, but I found that if you do only the one, the cardigan does have a tendency to want to pull backwards. And so I'm not sure. I definitely have enough yarn to add another tie if I want. So I'm not sure yet if I'm going to add another tie, but I feel like if I did, then it would give it a little bit more structure and help it stay forward a bit. And the other sleeve. It's a really gorgeous pattern. And then let me kind of get it up close so you can see some of the details. So you can see there's those little lace flower panels, and then there's also like a ruffle detail going down the front. And I'll show you the back. So the construction of this cardigan is very interesting. I've never ever worked up a cardigan or any other garment that is constructed this way. But basically these 2 panels, and you can see it's a little bit of like a drop sleeve in this way. So basically you work up each of these front panels individually, and it's just one really long rectangle. There is no shoulder seam. So you work it from bottom to bottom like that, and it makes one really long rectangle, and then you do 2 of those, and then you seam it in the back. Like you stitch it up the back this way in order to join it together into the body, and then you just add the sleeves. And it's a really, really gorgeous pattern. Like I said, very kind of like unique construction, and I really like the structure of it. Like I tend to like those kind of more boxy fits on top, I guess you could say. And so the drop sleeve is really flattering on me, at least I think so. It's a very gorgeous pattern, and it should be out now. I believe it released the day that I'm filming this, which is the 22nd. So the pattern should be out now, and you can go to her Instagram page, RAPH, and check it out for yourself. Yeah. That just about does it for my finished objects this time around. As you can see, there's kind of a purple theme. So we've got one purple, we've got one not quite purple, but in that like brownish range, then we've got one true purple here. I guess, because if lilac was the color of the summer, I feel like maybe plum is gonna be the color of the fall, which makes me happy because, as you know, this channel is called Plummy. Okay, so let's get into whips. Let me start with this one. I had been wanting to knit this particular pattern for a little bit. I was getting really inspired. I was watching a lot of people's like fall inspiration videos, you know, where they're creating mood boards and like all the things that they want to make this fall. And a lot of them are, I saw a lot of repeats of the same patterns, which is great. That means that, you know, it's a great pattern. A lot of people are going to be making it. However, I do feel like I missed out on a couple years of knitting when I was taking my break. And so I find a lot of joy oftentimes in like digging back through a designer's old patterns and knitting one of their older patterns. And one of these patterns that I came across because for some reason I've been really itching to do like stranded color work. I haven't done stranded color work in a while, and something about like knitting like some really rustic wool into like a stranded colorwork sweater was just really appealing to me to kick off fall with. And so I was actually on webs, aka yarn.com, which if you don't know what yarn.com is, it's like I hesitate to call it the Amazon of yarn stores, but it kind of is at this point. It's just like an enormous conglomerate yarn store. They have a physical location on the East Coast, but their online shop is like freaking enormous. They have every yarn you could ever think of. But it is kind of supporting the big man instead of supporting the little man, which I like to support the little man as much as I can. But sometimes I like to go browsing in their closeout section and just pick up yarns that are ridiculously cheap for what they are and then just stash it. It's kind of one of my pastimes. It's just kind of digging around on there. And I ordered all of this yarn, and it was New York Trendsetter. Is that right? Trendsetter Yarns. Yay. Okay, sorry. I reversed that. It was Trendsetter Yarns, and the variety was New York, and it was just kind of like a non-superwash rustic wool DK weight. And I got it in like a lilac, a green, and a white, with the intention of knitting this pattern called the Between Petals Pullover by Teti Lutsak. I'll put up a picture of the Ravelry screenshot here. It's a gorgeous sweater, and part of the things that I like, one of the things I tend to stray away from with stranded colorwork sweaters is a lot of them are just like super negative ease, or like very close fitting, or like just like kind of that straight skinny sleeve, which I don't really like. But this pattern just like enchanted me. So many of her other patterns, like just scrolling through, also enchanted me. They're so beautiful. And her bio says that she's a botanist turned knitter, which I think is really fun, but I found myself just so inspired by like her muted color palettes, just like the silhouettes of her patterns, the very simpleness of them. Like, yeah, it's stranded colorwork, but it's kind of not your typical Fair Isle. It's more botanical, more floral, and they were so pretty. And so I was so inspired, and I bought all this yarn from Webs with the intention of using it to make this pattern. However, like more than a week later, I still got no shipping confirmation or any other communication. So I went to their customer service portal. I said, hey, what's up with my order? Update, anything? And then they got back to me. They're like, oh yeah, sorry, we're out of like the green and the white. Even though when you ordered it, there was one left. Like, there wasn't actually one left. We ran out. Sorry. Do you still want the other one? And I was like, no. It's like the entire reason why I was buying this was to buy all three colors together to make this sweater. So, no, I don't want it anymore. So then I took a trip down to my local yarn store in search of yarn because I really wanted to get started on this. And I found, like, yeah, the lady who owns it, she really knows what she's doing, and she's very knowledgeable and very helpful. And she directed me to this wool that she carries quite often. The yarn brand is called Myak, It's Myak, which is, I think, supposed to be like a portmanteau of my and yak, because I think they do also do yak yarns. However, this one is wool, and it's Tibetan cloud wool, I think is the variety. And it is the softest wool I've ever touched or worked with. Like, when I was first starting out making cabled sweaters and stuff, I worked with a little bit of 100% wool. This yarn is crazy. It is so, I can't even describe to you how soft and bouncy it is. And like, I think I'm literally going to pick up this yarn again when I do color work in the future, because I'm having so much fun with this knit that I definitely want to do some more color work sweaters when I'm done. But yeah, so I picked up the yarn that day. It was a Saturday, and since I didn't have anything else on my schedule, I just sat down there and I knit a few rows. One thing about this sweater construction that is very interesting is it is not top down, which I expected it to be. And she does have instructions for the top down version if you want to knit it top down, but the way that she knitted it originally and the way the original pattern instructions are, it actually starts in the middle. Like, it starts with a provisional cast on that starts at the bottom of the yoke, and then you knit bottom up from the yoke up to the neckline. And then when you bind off for the neckline, then you pick up the stitches on the yoke, you separate for body and sleeves, and then you keep knitting all the way down, which is something that I had never heard of before. And so I was thinking to myself, oh, okay, well, I could knit it top down because she has instructions for knitting it top down. But on the other hand, this is a really cool construction and a technique that I've never done before. And I really, really want to try it and try something new. And so I did that. And so I sat at the store and I knitted on a couple of rows and just kind of chatted and stuff. And then when I went home afterwards, I wanted to work on it more. So I sat down on my couch to work on it more, and I was sitting next to my new cardigan, which was kind of thrown over the edge of the, like, over the arm of the couch. And I realized something. It's the same color. I did it again. I bought purple yarn again. And like it looks a little more gray on the screen, but it's very much like this plum color. And I just think it's so funny. And like, I told the yarn store owner when I went back there a couple days ago about this whole shenanigan, and I think what she said is pretty nice. She just said, you know, that means that you like that color. And I guess that's true. And I might do a video later of the mood board that I did for the Needles Hands knitting podcast, and she challenged everyone to make these mood boards that kind of like encapsulate your knitting aesthetic. And mine was pumpkin spice tumbler girl core, and it was actually featured on her video, which was pretty cool. And I might do another video later talking about that mood board and kind of my inspirations and what I mean by that and how I came to that and patterns that kind of fit into that category. But what's really funny is that, like, in the color palette section, there was no purple in sight on my mood board. And here I am holding 4 different purple knits. Okay, I guess these don't count because it's a gift and the request was purple. So I guess I can't count these, but still. Of my own volition, I've knit, oh, including what I'm wearing. Look at all the purple. Look at all the purple. Yeah, having a purple moment. But all that aside, let me go and tell you a little bit about this sweater because it's really pretty. So the 2 colors that I ended up going with are this plum color as the main, and then this really beautiful like sage green as the contrast color. And let me put these down so I can kind of show you what I've got. And this is how much I've got so far. So you can kind of see the yoke starting to take shape. I've done quite a few of the decreases now, and I think I'm a little less than halfway, maybe a little more than half, no, quite more than a little. I'm less than halfway through the yoke, And as you can see, I've got my provisional cast on stitches in the edge here. And it kind of is going to start, I would say probably right about there. And then come all the way up to the neckline, and then I'll pick up and knit the rest. But let me try and show you. It's hard because it's so scrunched up on my needles right now. When I have the entire yoke done, it will probably be a little easier to see. But you can see that botanical, leafy pattern kind of starting to take shape. And like I said, it's been a while since I've done color work, and I forgot how satisfying. I didn't forget. I've been watching people's podcasts and people's color work projects and like kind of frothing at the mouth wanting to do some color work because I love doing color work. I think I forgot how much I love doing color work. And I definitely want to do some more. And then obligatory inside so you can see my floats. I think not the cleanest floats, but also not the worst floats I've ever done. I'm hoping that it will also just kind of like even itself out after I block it. Yeah, this yarn is crazy soft. This yarn is crazy soft. And I'm going to use it, I think, like forever. It's really nice. Yep. So that's my Between Petals pullover. The only new cast on that I have. The other whip that I have, and you probably remember this tee that I showed on the last episode. There's the front. There's the front. This tee that I showed on the last episode that is unfinished, and I had said then that I don't think I would ever finish it because it just wasn't calling to me anymore. But with my sweater getting bigger and also being color work, meaning that I have to lug 2 pretty sizable skeins around with me everywhere I go to work on it, I felt like I just wanted something smaller that I could kind of take with me more. And so I did end up starting one of the sleeve bands, and this is all, I only did this today, so it'll probably go quick and is kind of making me feel a little embarrassed about procrastinating it. So here's one of the sleeve bands. It's not done. It's maybe about 3/4 of the way done because it should be about that long, I think, when it's finished. So this one, another one of these, and then a similar lace band for the neckline. And so I am kind of slowly working on that. Cool, that's it for my whips. And then the last thing that I want to show you all is this recent acquisition, aside from the yarn that I bought for projects. Yeah, my birthday was about like 2 weeks ago, and my best friend saw that I had posted on Instagram, like desperately wanting these new colorways from Apothecary Fiber Company. And so she called me, she said, yo, what yarn do you want? Which is really thoughtful. For any of you non-knitters out there, if you're looking to gift yarn to a knitter, it is totally not a faux pas at all to ask that knitter what yarn they want, because usually they have something that they've been wanting but couldn't justify the purchase to themselves, or like oftentimes like we are always looking at beautiful hand-dyed yarn that we want, but once again it's like I was like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't spend money on that, you know. And part of it too is a lot of us have preferences with the kind of yarn that we work with. Like if you're making socks a lot, you're probably going to want some sock yarn. If you never knit socks, then you might, you know, want something that's a little chunkier, or, you know, even a bulky weight if you're thinking of making a hat. And so it's totally normal practice to ask knitters what kind of yarn they want if you want to gift them yarn. And so, yeah, my best friend sent me this, or she ordered this for me and had it sent to my apartment, and it is so beautiful. It's exactly what I wanted, and like the packaging is so cute too, like this little pink tissue paper. I hope I can get it back in here afterwards. I want to keep it nice and like dust free, you know. So beautiful. So this is a sock set from Apothecary Fiber Company, and they posted these on their Instagram, and I was like, liking, commenting every single one of this series because I just think all of the colorways in this series that they launched is so beautiful. And they're kind of like fantasy inspired. So this one, the pink variegated, is called Night of the Rose. And it's so pretty. I love speckled yarns, and I'm trying to decide what I can make with this to do it justice. And I'm thinking of, sorry, before I get distracted, let me talk about the other one. The smaller skein is the elf root colorway, which, if you don't know, elf root is from Dragon Age. It's like little herbs on the ground that you can pick up and like craft potions with and stuff like that, and they're like everywhere. They're like weeds in Dragon Age, but it is a very fitting name for this kind of like warm nut brown kind of color, and they make a really beautiful pair together. And I've been really trying to figure out what I can do with these, and like I'm content to let them sit in my stash for a while just so I can admire them. You know how it is. You know how it is with yarn. You let it sit in your stash, you admire it, you look at it every once in a while, and you go, oh, it's so pretty, oh, it's so precious. And then one day, finally, you're ready to knit it, and then you knit it. But I'm thinking for this, one of the thoughts that I have in mind is Isabella Clarke, who's also 100 Acre Wool podcast. She has a pattern for a cowl that is mosaic knitting, and it's I'll put a picture of the Ravelry page here because I can't remember what it's called. I can't remember what the pattern is called, but it's mosaic knitting, and it has like these beautiful little diamond motifs on it, and I think that would be the most amazing way to show off like the variegation and the speckling and the dye job of this skein. And then I would probably, it also has an I-cord edging, because the thing is I don't want to make socks with it. Even though it's a sock set, I don't want to make socks because like it feels, I don't know, I don't want to get them like dirty and ruined, you know, because like socks are really nice, and like especially if it's with sock yarn, like with the nylon and superwash in it, they can last for quite a while, for quite a long time, but they're still like they're on your feet, they're on the floor, and I just don't want to subject this yarn to that. So I think I might pick up a complementing color and make that cowl with this eventually. But I also have a lot of time to think about it because I'm in no rush to knit this up anytime soon. But I'm also thinking if I do that, then the contrasting mini skein, I might incorporate it into the I-cord edging of that cowl so that it's still in there, and then I would just find like another 100-gram skein of sock yarn that complements these two and kind of fits within this palette. That's kind of what I'm thinking I might do. Yeah. It's so pretty. It's so pretty. Okay, one more time. I'm gonna show it to you one more time. Yeah. Like how they say diamonds are a girl's best friend, yarn is a knitter's best friend. All right, thank you so much for sticking with me to the end of this video. If you liked it, go ahead and please leave a like. Consider subscribing to my channel. It really means a lot to me. It helps my channel grow, and it really gets me out there in front of other people's pages. And also, if you're not following me on Instagram, my Instagram is @yarnyheart. That's where I post a lot of what I'm working on, what I finished, any test projects that I've been doing. And I think I might start to add some more whips onto my Instagram as I'm working on them, especially as I make progress on this Between Petals pullover and other similar fall knits that I plan on doing. So that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.